Good day, everyone. Today is Holy Thursday. Here's a reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Before the feast of Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to pass from this world to the Father. He loved his own in the world, and he loved them to the end. The devil had already induced Judas, son of Simon the Iscariot, to hand him over. So during supper, fully aware that the Father had put everything into his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God, he rose from supper and took off his outer garments. He took a towel and tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and dry them with the towel around his waist. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Master, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered and said to him, "What I am doing you do not understand now, but you will understand later." Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answered him, "Unless I wash you, you will have no inheritance with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Master, then not only my feet, but my hands and head as well." Jesus said to him, "Whoever has bathed has no need except to have his feet washed, for he is clean all over. So you are clean, but not all." For he knew who would betray him. For this reason he said, "Not all of you are clean." So when he had washed their feet and put his garments back on and reclined at table again, he said to them, "Do you realize what I have done for you? You call me teacher and master, and rightly so, for indeed I am. If I, therefore, the master and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash one another's feet. I have given you a model to follow, so that, as I have done for you, you should also do." The Gospel of the Lord. So over here, Jesus is washing the feet of the disciples, which looks a lot like something a servant would do for their master. And here Jesus is the master. So naturally, Peter was a little perplexed about this. And in fact, Peter actually felt unworthy of having his feet washed by Jesus. Of course, he's likely thinking that he should be the one washing the feet of Jesus and not the other way around. And so he says, "No way, you're not washing my feet. You're too good." And, something like that. And then, of course, Peter's missing the point here, and Jesus points that out to him. Jesus does not explain fully. He just says, "You will have no inheritance with me." And then Peter starts to realize maybe he should do the right thing. So, of course, he goes from one extreme to the other, go big or go home, right? And he says, "Well, then not only my feet, but the whole rest of my body as well." And Jesus says, "Well, that's not necessary. I mean, the rest of you is clean." Because back in the day, people's feet were the dirtiest parts of their body. They might actually still be these days too. But back then, not Peter. So back then, it was everybody whose feet was dirty back then. The feet showed every place that you walked, and they showed how long you've been walking, how many days you've been walking through, what you've been walking. I mean, the feet told the story, if you could see the bottom of someone's feet. And so it shows a lot of things that might not be revealed from the rest of your body. In much the same way that if you're talking about, let's say you're going to confession, there's a lot you reveal in confession that you would not necessarily reveal even in close, confidential conversations with other people. So the feet showed a lot. So there's a chance that Peter might have been a little bashful about how his feet looked as well. But, of course, Jesus says, "Well, you'll have no inheritance with me if I don't wash your feet." So, of course, now Peter just goes the other extreme, being who Peter is. And a rather impulsive fellow. He was the most human of the disciples, but that is precisely why he was chosen to be the rock upon which the church was built. Someone who could relate to just about every man. Now, the whole idea of serving as opposed to being served. Um, there are a lot of people who would say that anything with organized religion is just another means of control and thought control and brainwashing. But the thing is, Jesus came, he did not come here to be served. So we are not slaves to a God. He came here instead to serve us. And when we serve him, we are merely following an example that he had already set. So that's something to bear in mind, is that it's not this whole idea of following Jesus. It's not a means of control or brainwashing. Like we don't need no education. Not that sort of thing. It's all about following something he has already done. So that's just something to keep in mind for the remainder of this Easter Triduum, which will begin as soon as you attend Mass. For most of us, it'll be this evening, because I don't know of any Masses in the morning on Holy Thursday. So the Easter Triduum begins there. That's something to bear in mind. Now, some people would say Lent is over at that point, and others would say it's not. And I would say, think of it as, like I said before, think of it as the playoffs. All the Lenten promises you keep, that you've been keeping, well, try to keep them even better here, because you may have slipped up a few times during Lent. But over here, these next few days, it's time to step up the game. So think of this as, like I said before, Lent on overdrive. And in case you don't know, anybody you go to a Mass of the Lord's Supper, there's adoration in almost every church. Try to go to your church and then 6 other churches after that and visit the adoration chapel once you finish the Mass. It's just a great thing to do on Holy Thursday. You think about it, it's the Mass of the Lord's Supper, and this is just before he gets captured. So think of it as time spent with him. Yes, the Blessed Sacrament is reposed, it's not exposed, but keep in mind, he was captive for some time, but he was not quite in the hole yet. So that's just something to think about, and I'll see you all real soon. Peace out.